ABC News headquarters in New York, John Stossel and Elizabeth Vargas.
Good evening and welcome to 2020. Their mission is to protect helpless animals from neglect and cruelty. They are societies for the prevention of cruelty to animals. But now there are troubling accusations against some of these local SPCAs. Animal owners are claiming that self-righteous amateurs are confiscating their animals for money.
There are scores of these independent SPCAs in towns across America running on donations from people like you and me who assume they're doing good work. But are some SPCAs making extra money by taking animals that are not neglected and then selling them? Who's watching out for cruelty to animal owners?
It's okay.
Rescuing animals. That's the image of the SPCA. And there's no question that SPCAs do a lot of good work, rushing in to save animals from abusive people. But some people who've had animals taken away by animal rescuers say SPCAs have acted like petty tyrants on power trips who use their police powers to steal people's animals. Case number 1 of scores of complaints we investigated. This dog breeder says these animal rescuers trespassed onto his property and just took his dogs. The woman holding the dog is leading the raid. She says many of the animals are starving. Do they look as if they're starving? The man in the plaid shirt is a vet who'd done work for the owner. He tells the rescuer he checked the dogs and found them healthy.
These dogs are healthy. It's immoral, and if you're their veterinarian, you should be ashamed. You should
You're the one that should be ashamed, causing a good, honest, hard-working person a lot of trouble.
The owner spent nearly all his money getting authorities to give back his confiscated dogs, but during the raid, he says, some disappeared. Now, I find it hard to believe that animal rescuers could take animals that didn't need to be rescued. But lots of people all across America have been telling us that and saying that SPCAs wrecked their lives. Some of them videotaped the SPCA's raids. In our year-long investigation, some people told us that when they'd gotten overextended in caring for their animals, the SPCA accused them of neglect, confiscated their animals, and sold them within days. The SPCAs then keep the money.
Good boy.
Case number 2. A New Jersey SPCA accused Joe Stuebing of starving his horses.
You're trespassing on private property. And you're not allowed to touch one horse.
The SPCA filed charge after charge against him for what they said was inhumane treatment. He says the horses had lost weight simply because they were sick and he was overwhelmed.
May I see that copy?
Some of the horses the SPCA took custody of were champion bloodlines, valued together at almost $1 million.
She doesn't know one end of a horse from another.
Will you be quiet and get out of here?
The day after the SPCA took custody of Stuebing's horses, he said they invited people to his farm to take his horses out from under him.
This was like an equine shopping mall. Like it was right for the pickings. Anybody could come in here and, well, I'm tagging that one, I want that one, and I want that one.
Stuebing says it's about a bunch of self-important people and money. SPCAs do sell the animals they confiscate and keep the money.
They're a self-righteous group of people that are in it for money. They're in it for monetary gain. They don't care about the horses. They don't care about anything else except money.
That's a charge we heard over and over from people who lost animals, that the SPCA confiscates them for the money. Sometimes the owners hire lawyers and file appeals, but they rarely win. Courts usually side with the SPCAs. After all, the animal rescuers are the experts, aren't they? Dave Garcia has confiscated thousands of animals in several states. Now he heads the Dallas SPCA, one of the biggest in America. You get a sense of how important he considers his work when you listen to his opinion about the kind of people who abuse animals.
If they beat a dog to death, then it's just a step up to beat a coworker or beat a classmate, and then a step up to kill someone, and then a step up to do mass murder.
On local TV, Garcia is often portrayed as a savior, rescuing animals. And he has saved a lot of animals from abusive people.
I should not have to warn someone to take care of their animals. If they're here to make money with them, then take care of them.
Garcia led an effort to get Texas politicians to pass a law saying once a justice of the peace approves one of the SPCA's confiscations, an owner can't do anything about it.
There is no appeal once the animals are awarded to a nonprofit agent, the SPCA.
Under Garcia's leadership, the Dallas SPCA has seen financial penalties against animal owners quadruple.
The SPCA loaded the animals on vans.
These televised raids bring in money. After broadcasts like this one, people make big donations. $6 million last year. It helps pay Garcia's $80,000 a year salary. Case number 3. Garcia raided Renee Moore's dog kennel, bringing along TV reporters who duly reported what Garcia said.
120 dogs living in deplorable conditions.
Authorities say they confiscated those dogs just in time.
It's deplorable conditions.
No, they're not. They'll feed over a ton of dog food a month.
They're starving.
No, they're not.
Garcia used photos like this to convince reporters and a justice of the peace that Renee had abused her animals. But Renee's dogs, like this red bone, are show dogs. Some were thin, she says, only because they were nursing large litters of puppies. Vets and breeders told us this look can be normal when a dog is nursing. In fact, after the raid, her vet wrote that while housing and sanitation needed improvement and suggested a cutback in the number of animals, he also said Moore does care about and care for her animals. No starvation was evident. Garcia, who is not a vet, disagreed.
And the fact that the ribs are showing means that it's starving.
The SPCA took custody of all of Renee's dogs, including award winners, worth up to $600 each. She said you sold her purebred dogs for a few $100s.
Well, one thing that I have to say at this point is that they were no longer her dogs.
Unable to afford a lawyer, Renee wrote her own lawsuit, charging the SPCA with stealing. The suit was dismissed. Renee's livelihood was destroyed. She and her husband were forced to sell their home and move into this trailer.
I would like to see them punished for what they've done. And they humiliated me on TV, and I want them to apologize to me on TV.
Case number 4. Garcia raided Lynda Williams' animal sanctuary. Williams isn't even in a business that sells animals. She runs a shelter, rescuing old and sick dogs. The SPCA warned her, clean up your shelter, where they charge her with animal neglect. She says she was nearly done when the SPCA trucks and TV cameras, lots of them, suddenly appeared.
Y'all need to get the cameras and put it on public property.
Garcia took all her animals and charged her $6,000 for vet and boarding fees. After a local justice of the peace ruled it was okay, the SPCA sold her most valuable animals. They call it adopting them out. Adoption is free?
No, adoption is not free. Adoption for animals range from $185 to $50.
They steal your stuff, they steal your animals.
Lynda's veterinarian, Dr. Robert Wright, had been at the shelter the day before the raid. And while he felt housing and sanitation needed improvement, he said the animals he saw were not abused or neglected. Ironically, he's done some work for the SPCA.
She did not deserve to have her animals seized from her. There was not any animals being neglected of food. There was no animals being neglected of shelter.
After he testified, he was not allowed to work at the SPCA again.
All the small, the puppies that are over there, and the puppies.
All of this made us want to see firsthand how Garcia works. So we asked to go along on a raid. Garcia said, sure. What he didn't know was that our cameraman was a vet.
When 2020 returns, another helpless owner reduced to tears. Should her dogs have been taken away?
Yours actually look pretty clean.
Our undercover vet weighs in next. 2020 continues with John Stossel.
Early one morning last September, we accompanied the SPCA's Dave Garcia as he went with a police officer to a justice of the peace to get the warrant he needs to raid a dog kennel that he said didn't provide adequate food, water, and shelter.
Sorry to drag you out on a Saturday.
Honey, I'm up here every Saturday morning. It don't make any difference.
Garcia shows her photos of what he claims are filthy kennels. The judge seems skeptical.
She's got some nice pens if it was all.
Well, she has these door things that she's put on the ground.
Garcia convinces her to sign the order. That short hearing gives Garcia the force of law that lets him go with an armed police officer onto any animal owner's property with no notice or warning. Now remember, the warrant said inadequate food, water, and shelter. But that's not what we saw. There were some dirty, empty pens, but most of the pens were clean. The owner had been away for 4 days, but had bought expensive high-grade dog food, kept detailed medical records, even installed air conditioning for the summer. This did not look like animal abuse to us. Of course, we're not vets, so we brought one along, Dr. Galen Tesla, that's him in the baseball cap. He didn't reveal that he was a vet. Now, at the raid, Garcia told us what to expect.
That there was no water, that there was no food, that the animals were urine-soaked, fecal-stained, nails were overgrown. All of those things are false.
Dr. Tesla said, well, there was some neglect because the owner had been away. It was correctable, and he saw no cruelty and certainly no reason to confiscate the dogs. But Garcia said the dogs needed to be saved.
Under Texas state law, these animals have been cruelly treated. The definition of cruelly treated is having to live in your own feces, unsanitary conditions, no food or water.
Everything is based upon there's feces in the cages.
And when people keep animals, there is routinely feces in the cages?
It's part of having an animal.
We were told before the raid to be prepared to burn our shoes and clothes after this raid because there would be such filth from handling these animals, and there was no need for that.
Moments after the SPCA collects the last dog, the owner, Pam Chenault, arrives.
I can't believe y'all are here.
She can't believe they've taken her dogs, including her first dog, her favorite, Gidget.
This is just not right now. I mean, you know.
Here's your copy. That way you'll know when the court date is.
I know. Okay. Is there all in here?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I just get it?
It's in there now.
Okay.
Garcia wouldn't even let her go to the van that held Gidget.
They're all wards of the court now. Okay, so I can't let you in.
Garcia took the dogs to the SPCA, where the workers they called technicians cited problems like fleas and mange, things Dr. Tesla says don't justify confiscation. They didn't call the animals underfed.
She's actually a little bit overweight.
In fact, it sounded as if some of the animals were in good condition.
Ears actually look pretty clean. She's looked a little bit of harder build up.
Not that the technicians are experts. In fact, except for our vet, there wasn't a vet in sight.
Were you the veterinarian?
No, I'm the ACC manager, or supervisor.
These pets were not abused. They were not in poor health. None of them were in life-threatening conditions.
He said some things the SPCA said made no sense. For example, if the animals were really covered in filth, rescuers would never hold them close to their chests like this.
Your people were holding them like this.
Exactly.
You don't hold a urine, feces soaked dog like that. You hold it like this.
No, some of my staff did.
We didn't see dogs soaked in feces and urine.
Our vets did, because our vets did the evaluations.
No, they didn't. There was no vet there when the dogs were brought back.
We had vets there.
No, they didn't. The SPCA later emailed us admitting that they didn't, but saying, in this case, vets weren't needed.
Don't come to me and tell me I'm supposed to give you a warning.
Pam Chenault hired a lawyer and tried to get her animals back. But the court gave him only 2 hours to prepare, so he advised her to settle and give her dogs to the SPCA. Most were adopted. A few were put to sleep. She doesn't know what happened to Gidget.
We brought a vet on that raid. He said he didn't think the animals should have been taken.
Well, the judge did, and law enforcement did.
But they do it because you bring them the data. You spin them.
No, I don't spin them. The judge looks at the facts, looks at the probable cause, and the judge makes the decision.
You paint yourself as this heroic rescuer, and you're just ripping these people off. You're stealing their animals.
No, I'm not stealing no one's animals.
Garcia says he dismisses 95% of the complaints without any confiscation. But lots of people told us stealing animals is exactly what he does.
Some people say this is all about money, keeping the SPCA in money.
No, it's not about money. It's about the welfare of an animal.
Tell that to the 50 people we talked to who lost animals to Garcia and other SPCAs. Joe Stuebing's fortunate he doesn't keep his horses in Texas, where he would have fallen under the thumb of the no appeal rule Garcia lobbied for. After the court ruled the SPCA could take his animals, he appealed and won because his farm was raided without a warrant. The SPCA still says he was abusing his horses, But today, he has his horses back.
I want the SPCA put out of business.
In Texas, neither Renee Moore nor Lynda Williams could appeal. They say they'll never get over what Garcia and the SPCA did to them.
I was a dog breeder. I was a dog shower. My dogs was my life. There's a big old emptiness.
By the way, it's important to understand that all these SPCAs are independent of each other, and they have no connection to the huge New York-based ASPCA. If you're thinking of sending in a donation, check that it's going where you intend it to go.